Yo, so I'm going to teach y'all how to break in reeds for single reed instruments, so clarinet and saxophone. So first of all, I'm going to clarify the reason we break in reeds isn't necessarily to make it play better. It should technically play pretty well outside of the box. If not, after like maybe a day or two, it should be playing fine. It's mainly to make it last longer. Back when I started getting serious about clarinet and I was like really into it and stuff, I'd pull out a reed and it'd be like really good. Um, and I'd get carried away and play on it for like 4 hours. And after like a day or two of that, you'd pull out the reed and you'd be able to like see through the reed. So I want to clarify that the main reason we do this is to make reeds last longer. And, it could last just a little bit of time if you don't break it in properly. But if you break it in right, it could last like a year or two. Uh, like back when I was learning, my teacher was telling me he had reeds that he was playing on for like a year or two, and like they were like pristine, like they were just like perfectly ready and fine. And you just pull them out and play them, and you could play on basically a full concert on them, and they'll still be fine. The core of my method is derived from a video that Rico did a long, long time ago with Mark Nuccio when he was with the New York Philharmonic. They did like a short 3-minute video, and I kind of follow that, and I'm going to teach that and maybe expand on it a little bit. So when you take out the reed, so this is a Van Doren reed. It was in a humidity pack, so technically it should be at the right humidity, but this also is, I think, like maybe like 3 or 4 years old. I bought these like a long, long time ago. So with these, technically they should be a little bit moist, but with maybe some others, they don't come humidity sealed and stuff. Either way, first thing you do, well, let me clarify why I was saying that. The Van Dorens that were humidity sealed, dip them in water briefly, just to get them wet. Those that aren't humidity sealed, maybe make sure they might be a little bit dry, and dip it in the water a little longer and make sure they're really moist. I usually prefer something that's a bit more narrow, so you just have a little bit of water in there, you just dip it in there. I didn't have a glass ready, so I'm using one of these, but it's good to have something to dedicate to it. It's kind of cool, and just has a little bit of water, and it's just right. The second thing you do, take a flat surface, preferably glass, but I have this little reed adjustment thing that I could use here. Put it on it and rub it very slightly, just a little bit. You don't really want to, sand it or anything. You just want to seal the pores. It helps it last longer, adds to the durability of the reed, and feels a lot better softer on your lip. If you're a little bit less experienced, if you haven't played like that much, maybe like a couple years, new reeds might really be kind of harsh on your lip, and this will kind of help mitigate that. But even then, even if you are kind of used to it and you have a very kind of broken in lip, I guess, still do that anyways. It'll be softer on your lip and it'll just be a lot more comfortable to play. But you don't really want to be too harsh with it. Reeds are very easy to adjust. They're very responsive to just a little bit of, work. So, yeah. And like I said, reeds should technically be expected to play outside the box. And if you play them a couple times and it's not quite working, then I'd adjust it. But I'm not going to go into that right now. I don't really know a lot about that, but I do kind of know how to just make it work, basically, like enough to make it work. So, but I'm not going to talk about that too much here. But the next thing you're going to do after sealing the pores on a flat surface is play on it for anywhere from like 10 to 30 seconds. I prefer like 10 to 15 really, but just like really briefly. Like really briefly, just to put a little bit of pressure on it. Basically, just kind of like a little seasoning session, basically. And then put it in your reed case. Hopefully it has a flat surface. I prefer like, the glass surfaces, like this one. I don't know if they still have these Selmer ones. These are the old school ones, but glass surface, and that's better. And I don't really know if this plastic with something you get wet and put in your mouth is like probably the best thing, but I've been thinking about that recently. But anyways, yeah, put that in there. Actually forgot, probably the next step is get one of these fine point Sharpies, and I already put it in there, I ain't taking it back out, but and give it a little mark. If you can look, there's one of my reeds that isn't marked, but you see how each one is marked with how many times I played them. Tomorrow, if I play that reed, I don't like break in each reed like on a daily basis. I kind of just make sure I play them, you know, keep track of how many times I do play them. But if I did play that one tomorrow, say I'd maybe go up to 45 seconds to 2 minutes of playing on it, depending on how it feels. And if it feels really good, if it feels like prime, then I might just play it 45 seconds or so, just to give it a real slow break-in process, so I make sure that that one kind of lasts a very long time. If it feels like it's a little more resistant stuff, I might play a little more, like 2 minutes, to see if I can get it to work and whatnot. After that, I might want to work on it or just see what the heck's going on with it. But then say third time you play on it, play it for like 5 minutes, 5 to 10. The 10's a bit stretching it maybe. Then the fourth time you maybe push it to 10 or 20. You sort of start playing it like maybe you're practicing an etude. Maybe you do a couple runs on the etude and you practice a couple things and then you put it up. But after that fourth time you play it is when I consider it to be like primed, and it should be broken in and ready to go for like a rehearsal. Say, I wouldn't like perform on that, like preferably. If that's like your most broken in reed, then sure, but like, I think someone just knocked on my door, I don't know, but, oh, it's my dog crying, never mind. He's actually in the middle of a dream, that's funny, anyways. But, you know, after that fourth time playing it, I'd say it's ready for like a hour or two rehearsal, and after that, then it's good to go. It's pretty like solid, and you could play it just about as much as you want, and it's be pretty resilient. You know, be careful with it, of course. You know, if it's still kind of that fresh, like after 4 or so times playing it, you know, it's still kind of fresh. You know, it's still technically a bit of a new reed. Do be careful with it. But you know, about that time, it should be about broken in. That's, for me, I mean, you know, I think it's, you know, I know this takes up a bit of a upfront investment, but the best thing to do is, of course, to have, so like these are all 3.5s, maybe some are 3.5 pluses that I was working with, but, you know, it's best to have like, you know, especially if you're like an orchestra or something, you know, just to have 1 or 2 of these that you're going to just pop open, and like each one of these are going to play exactly how you want them to. They're all broken and ready to go. So, I mean, you know, obviously, I guess some of these aren't. Some of them are. These are, though. But, you know, it's best to have as many as you can to work with and rotate through. Even when they're broken in, it helps to kind of rotate them in rehearsals. Maybe in a concert, you want to stick with the same reed throughout the whole thing for consistency. But, you know, if you got a broken in reed, it could last, and it won't, like, fail on you throughout, like, in the middle of the concert. I've had some auditions where I maybe put on a reed where I've trusted it too much, and then like it literally like stopped working in the middle of an etude, and it leaves you thinking like, what just happened? Like, it wasn't like I knew like I was doing the right thing, and something just kind of went wrong with the system. It was very weird. But anyways, I think a little tip that I'd give with breaking in reeds is probably one of the biggest tips I can give is to have like either a cloth cloth, leather, or rubber ligature that doesn't have a metal part where it touches the mouthpiece, because, you know, if you're having a session when you're breaking in a bunch of reeds, or maybe you're rotating them, and, you know, you're kind of in the early break-in process, so you're playing on them for just a little bit and switching reeds a lot, it's best to have a soft ligature, because this might be going on the mouthpiece, and I mean, this mouthpiece is really old from when I got serious with clarinet a long time ago, and I mean, it has some little you know, little scratches in the plate right there, which ideally you don't want, because it could kind of screw with the performance in the mouthpiece, the acoustics, kind of a little bit. I don't know, I heard that part was kind of important. I don't know for sure. I'm not really a mouthpiece expert, but I do know the basics and how to get them to work. So, you know, I guess that for the player, that's the important part, right? But, you know, it's best to have a soft ligature, even if you don't play it like in your performance stuff, just to make sure you don't damage your mouthpiece if you're putting it on and off. You know, this ligature, I think it's a Rovner Mark III or something. It's like rubber. This doesn't like dampen your sound as much as like a very heavier cloth, leather or cloth ligature would. So I mean, you know, this is a great ligature in general. I mean, it's like $16 or something. So I mean, if not just to break in your reeds, I mean, it's great to play and rehearse with. I mean, you know, that way, you know, see these metal ligatures, you know, you don't think about it, but you know, you could crush it. You know, anything could happen, and you know, if you're busy in rehearsals and stuff, you know, get one of these. Like, yeah, that way, if you got like a rare like vintage metal ligature or whatever, or, like, you know, a gold Bonad or whatever, like that costs a little bit, or you know, whatever, or maybe you can't get it anymore. That way, you don't break it. You know, like I have a couple ligatures that you can't get anymore, and I'd hate to lose them because I really like how they play. So, because like some ligatures do make a little bit of a difference. It just makes it feel a little bit better sometimes, and that's complicated. But anyways. I believe okay, so there's another remark on breaking in reeds I wanted to make. So with these fine point permanent markers, you could, of course, have multiple colors. You know, I tried, like, say, like, have one day where I'd have a purple one, so I'd know, like, which, like, session I, you know, played each reed with, but, I mean, it was too much. I mean, I was trying to break in too many reeds at one time, which something I wouldn't recommend. That way you like keep track of them and you're conscious about them and you're thinking about them. I just for some reason wanted to get like way too many of them going at once. So there's that. Really think that's probably it. I guess it's really awkward if you're not one of the clarinet player viewers and you just watch through this entire. But I'm sure like somebody will. So I mean, it's awkward. If so, I just like, you know, pointing some people out. I don't remember if there's anything else I actually wanted to mention. I probably would have had it up here or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, take care of your reeds. Try to make them last as long as possible. You know, I mean, they used to be a little bit less expensive. They're pretty expensive these days. You know, no matter where you get them. So it's just try to make them last as long as possible. You know, of course, with breaking in reeds, just reed care in general. I mean, you know, try to be careful with the tip. Just, I don't know. I mean, just be careful with it. I don't know. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, because otherwise, you know, it just sucks. Obviously, right. I mean, I'm playing like a bunch of different instruments now, and I mean, it's just one thing I'm really trying to be careful with is like always having my reeds like very well taken care of and maintained, and you know, I don't really put them in bags and stuff. Like some people put humidity packs in them. For some reason, I find that the more I just let them kind of acclimate to the climate I'm in, the environment I'm in, the better. If you're going somewhere else, like, I mean, it's helped to have them all like kind of humidity packed and bagged up and sealed. Like when I like flew or something or like whatnot, or going to like a very different climate, sure, like that has helped. But I mean, if you're staying in around the same area, like if you're playing in an orchestra and you're staying there for the most part, or whatnot, I mean, just like, you know, I mean, obviously like normal ensemble playing, you're probably playing pretty local. You know, I think generally just leave them out like this, and for me it's working just fine. Sometimes with big weather fluctuations it does matter, but I don't know. Anyways, just take care of them and they work, break them in, and anyways, I think that's about it. See ya.